Hey guys, Paradoxio here. Welcome back to a brand new video, everyone. In this tutorial, we are going to be going over on how we can make a Modal form for our Discord bots. Now, this is part 14, I believe, of this updated Discord.py 2024 and 25 edition. And we are now getting into a lot of the fun stuff, such as modals, buttons, and all of the more newer and modern stuff that Discord.py has to offer. Now, if you're not familiar with what a modal is, basically a modal is one of those things that pop up on your screen with information on them, whether it's inputs like an email address or a name. If you're like on a website and you're prompted to sign up for a newsletter, you might have a modal pop up on your screen to fill in your email details. You might have one pop up on your screen if you want to buy something. Basically, modals are just pop-up windows, and we can use them to input data, or we can just use them to read information. We can do a lot of different things with them. Now, in Discord.py, we have access to that, and we can use these modals for a number of different things. Now, unfortunately, there are some limitations on these modals, and you'll see what I mean here shortly. But first, let's go ahead and create one. Now, you don't need to import anything new for this. You just need Discord, Discord.extensions, and app commands from Discord, and you're good to go. To create a modal, we just need to create the object for it. We can do this by typing in class, myModal. And then inside here, we're going to pass in discord.ui.modal. And then we're going to give our modal a title. Now, we can call this whatever we want. We can call it report user, for an example, because typically that's what Discord modals are usually for. They're for reporting users to the staff team. And for this class name, we can call it whatever we want as well. You can call it report user modal, or you can just call it report user. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to call it modal. Or my modal, I should say. But once you have these written, we can go ahead and come in here. And this is where we start adding our text inputs. And tab 9's pretty much spoiling it for me. But basically, all we have to do is just define a variable. We can call it user ID because this first input's going to be for the user ID. And then we set it equal to discord.ui.text input. And give it a label. We can call it user ID. And then we can give it a style. Set it equal to discord.ui.textstyle, or wait a minute, it's .textstyle, sorry. And we have long, paragraph, and short. Long gives us a long, like text input field. Short gives us a short one, and then paragraph gives us a long one, but there's multiple lines for us to write on. So for user ID, we would probably want to use short because I believe user IDs aren't that long. I think it's like 10 to 15 characters or something like that. But after style, we can go ahead and give it a placeholder. And this is where we'd put like an example user ID just to tell our users how to, you know, put in the reported user's ID. So enter user ID, example, and then we can just type in a random string of numbers, preferably the same amount of numbers that is on an actual user ID. I don't know at the top of my head, so I'm just putting this down for an example. But after that, we can give it another text input called reason, and I'm just going to do it like this since tab 9's pretty much spoiling it for me. But I want to change this long to a paragraph because we want to be able to give a lengthy reason. Maybe not too long, but long enough to where we understand why we're reporting the user. Or to rephrase that, why for the staff to understand why we're reporting the user. Now, we have two text inputs, and this is pretty much enough for a basic report user system. But I need to talk to you guys about the limitations of these modals. Now, modals are a couple years old, I believe. Yeah, so a couple years old, so they're still fairly new to Discord. However, a issue with modals is you're only allowed text inputs. Now, unlike HTML forms, where you can have multiple inputs, whether it's text, email inputs, checkboxes, radio buttons, number inputs, Discord.py, or well, Discord in general only allows text inputs, and even more on that, they only allow you up to 5 input fields. So, to say the least, you have to be pretty conservative on what you are using these inputs for. So just keep that in mind whenever you are implementing these modals into your Discord projects. Hopefully that changes later. I would love to see an implementation where we have checkboxes and radio buttons on these modals. Personally, I think that'd be really awesome to have for our Discord bots, but that's just what Discord has to offer at the moment. But for now, we're pretty much done with this. All we need to do is set up an onSubmit function, and this is going to be a listener for when we submit that form. And it's async def onSubmit self and then interaction, which is discord.interaction object. Now, inside this onSubmit listener, we can validate or sanitize the data that the user would have inputted into this modal here. And we can do this by accessing the variables, which would be through self.userid or self.reason. So, just for an example on how we can validate that data, let's say the user ID is too long. Now, I'm going to guess that user IDs on discord.py are, I don't know, 15 characters. So, what I can do is I can type in if len self.userid is more than 15 characters. Again, I don't really know what the actual length of them are. I'm just using this for an example. And what we can do is we can type in await interaction .response .send message user ID is invalid. And then we can set an ephemeral to be true, just to hide that message from other people, that is. Now, you can also do other things in here. So if you're reporting a user, then what you can do is you could try and have discord.py search that user. You can try to have your bot search for that user. And if that user's not found, then we can report back to the person reporting the user saying, hey, this user does not exist, or you inputted the wrong ID, please try again. Something simple like that, for an example. That's something we can also do inside this onSubmit function. And then if we run into a problem here, then we want to return, of course, because if I don't write return there, then it's going to execute the following code that I'm going to write out here. So, if we don't run into any problem with our inputted data, if it sanitizes just fine, or if we validate it just fine, then what we can do is we can send a confirmation message, await interaction .send, or I'm sorry, .response .send message. Thank you for reporting. And then I'm going to make this an F string, actually. And we can just type in self.userid for reason. Or, I'm sorry, that is self.reason. And then we can set an ephemeral to be true there as well. And that's it. Now all we need to do is set up a / command to actually bring up this modal for us to fill out. And, well, Tab9 spoiling it for us all again. And all we really need is just a / command. And yes, you can do this in cogs. It's fairly simple. But as you can see here, we set up a command report. And all we have to do is just create our modal object. So modal is equal to my modal, just like that. And then here's where things are a little bit different. Typically we use .response.sendMessage. Well, for modals, we use a different method, and it's interaction.response.sendModal. Instead of send message, we send modal. And if I show you send message, we cannot pass modal in like that. It will not work. You will receive an error. We have to use the send modal method. And that's basically it. We can go ahead and run this bot to test some things out. Alright, so we have 2 commands synced, so that means this command should be working. And now, all we can do is just refresh Discord, so that way we make sure our / command is actually popping up for our bot. And then we can go to our test server, and we can type in /report. And now this modal has popped up, and this is what it looks like. Pretty nice. And by default, these are required. I don't think you can change them, but I could be wrong on that. I would have to look back at the documentation. But it's going to give you a little warning, of course. Please don't ever input sensitive information, because this is getting submitted somewhere. But we can enter a user ID, which I'm going to do 32323, and then I'm going to be like, they were being mean. Just whatever. We can click submit. And it may take a minute, and it looks like something went wrong. So let's go back to Visual Studios. Okay, so it looks like text input has no len. All right, so what I'll have to do is I would have to convert this to a string. Run our code again. All right, there we go. Okay, perfect. So what I'll do now is report, and this should hopefully work now. They were being mean. And okay, yep, that worked. Thank you for reporting 231234. They were being mean. So our confirmation message works, and that shows that we can access the data that we inputted just using self and then the name of our variables here that we just declared for our text inputs. Now I'm going to, whoops, wrong screen. I'm going to try this again, report, and I'm going to give it a very long user ID. That's definitely more than 15 characters. And now we get an error, user ID is invalid. So that shows us that our data validation is working here through this if statement. Just make sure you use str to convert your user IDs to a string though. Otherwise, you can't use len with it if you're trying to test for the amount of characters or anything like that. But this works pretty well. We got ourselves a very simple report user setup. Now, ideally, you would have this send a message to a specific channel. Maybe it's a staff channel that you have set up somewhere in your server. Wherever it may be, this is where you'd probably have that form data sent. And then your staff could, of course, you know, moderate the user if need be. So we set up a pretty simple report user modal here. Now there's other things we can use modals for. It could be for applications. It could be for suggestions. It could be for a number of different things, even entering in giveaways. I've seen people do that. It's more of up to you on how you're going to be creative with this. But that is all for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this and would like to see more just like it, be sure to let me know. I also have a few changes on my channel, one of which I just updated my website and brought it back online. Now you have a more user-friendly experience with that, and you can create accounts, share your code files with other people and whatnot, and you can even grab a link from your code file that you uploaded and run it as a script from the cloud. That's something I've brought to you guys as well. But that's enough of me selling out. But other than that, you guys have a wonderful day. Leave me a like, comment, subscribe, and join my Discord server for more. And I will see you all on the next tutorial.